welcome to Movie Bitches.
It's movie time! Oh, I'm so excited. You have no idea what's going on, but,
Nope.
you know, well, I don't think Mystery Science Theater will come up particularly in this episode, but it should be brought up on the regular because it's the best.
Oh, what the heck. Frank, I'm going to start slapping you now, and I may never stop.
Let the healing process begin.
I lost a bet.
We didn't have a soccer ball because sports.
I literally didn't have a sports ball. Golf balls, but that doesn't really achieve the same.
Not so much.
Yeah. So I have a globe. I'm both Atlas and David and
Teaching the children. It's a lot of
Freddie
information.
Prinze Jr.
A lot of information.
A lot. Cheers. Welcome to Hitchcocktober Part 3.
Happy Halloween!
Yes, happy Halloween. Yeah. Woo. I was going to say this is the final part of Hitchcocktober, but I do feel like we might have to do like a version 2 at some point in the future.
Oh, I'm not mad at it. I mean, honestly, let's just keep it going.
Exactly, because there's just so many more that we haven't talked about, you know.
Okay, the prop is causing conflict. It was a delight. I'm putting it over here.
Okay.
Today, we haven't even mentioned it, we're talking about Hitchcock and romance.
Sure. In Spellbound and Notorious.
Oh, I mean, are you in love with Ingrid Bergman or not? I mean, oh my God.
I mean,
What?
yes. No, totally. These ones were interesting to me. Well, we'll get into it. But first things first, shout out to our Patreon supporters. $5 a month gets you early access. $10 gets you access to our viewing parties. Brian and I did one for Notorious. Maybe not the most exciting, but when she came out in that fur, I let out a gay gasp, so there was that.
We'll talk about the costumes at length. I wrote down a lot.
Second, shout out to our wine sponsor, Wink. Go to trywink.com/moviebitches. You get $22 off your first month of wine. Third things third, make sure to subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
My hair doesn't move right now. It's
Well, you know, yeah, oh my God. It really is like very Weird Al Yankovic-y.
Yes, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling very Gene Simmons. I'm feeling a lot of feelings. I'm excited about it. I specifically picked these two. One, because Notorious is my favorite Hitchcock movie of all time.
Wow.
This is my absolute favorite Hitchcock movie. I think all of the themes come together, and casting and Edith Head and all of the above. And I wanted to pick Spellbound because it is a very flawed film, but there's so many fascinating things going on, very bizarre and experimental visuals happening, and they're sort of at the opposite end of like romance spectrums, I would say,
Sure.
in Hitchcock, right? So Spellbound is your traditional, I mean, they flip the gender roles slightly, but basically it's the man fucked up. I will fix and save you. Let's get married. You know, it's pretty standard. And Notorious.
I mean, I think she literally says, I will fix you.
I'm going to do what I want to do. Take care of you and cure you and remain with you till that happens.
And Notorious is much more adult and complex. But should we talk about Spellbound first?
Yes. So I found this fascinating. To me, this movie was two different things. The first half was a horror film, and the second half was an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
I mean, you're welcome, honestly.
Right? It was like Promising Young Woman, or, you know, like some sort of just like absolute horror film of her getting, you know, harassed in the workplace.
Yes, actively assaulted in the workplace.
I'm mad about you. I'm afraid I'm boring you.
No, your attitudes are very interesting.
Surrounded by carbon copies of the same gross white male in a suit. Every man she encounters is gross.
I've got you spotted as a lady in trouble. And from out of town. School teacher or librarian.
Everyone's mad at her for I mean, in my mind, the overarching analogy, and whether I'm reading it with context now and what it would be different then, is she's a woman in power. We hate her.
Gentlemen, notice her stockings. The lady's been climbing trees.
Or lolling in a briar patch.
No, it's trees. There are 2 leaves in her hair.
Allow me, Dr. Peterson.
She's breaking that glass ceiling, and people are mad about it.
How about you and me having a nice little drink together now that we're acquainted?
No, thank you.
You don't have to be so snooty about it.
Exactly.
And for 1945, again, you can read this in the context of, was Hitchcock and the whole crew presenting this as she's a woman who's saying fuck you to the patriarchy? Or is it just, this is how it was, we're just representing the reality of the times? Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe. It's based on a book, and the book, the woman is the doctor. The psychoanalysis of it all. I love that they had to give you upwards of 2 to 3 paragraphs. This is what psychoanalysis is.
Yes.
We're also giving you a Shakespeare quote for the artsy people.
That's right. There was the Shakespeare quote. I forgot about that.
Well, the pacing of this movie is very bizarre. So we've got an overture.
Right. That takes forever for no reason.
Well, setting the tone, except that the music, I was like watching it back because the music is really, really good in this and very different. Hitchcock hated it. Hated the music. He thought it was too melodramatic and over the top. I think it works because the whole movie is melodramatic and over the top. The score on this overture, I'm watching it, there's just like, shadowy trees, and it's the overture. And I'm like, what is this, Little Women? Like, what? This music is telling me I'm gonna watch, Pride and Prejudice or something.
Yes.
What is this? I don't know. And then we get the Shakespeare quote from Julius Caesar. And then the 3 paragraphs about what psychoanalysis is. He was breaking new ground.
Sure. This is, I would say, probably like more than Marnie even, like the most leaned in of the psychoanalysis ones that we've watched.
Right.
We are going to be very literal about this dream breakdown. Thank God it was so lucky that like his dream was in chronological order and told them everything that they needed to know how to solve this murder.
Movies.
Yes.
It's a movie, I guess they had like a David O. Selznick, this is one of Hitchcock and his collaborations. They had a contract that lasted through most of the 40s. And they were both going to psychoanalysis. They were fascinated with psychoanalysis. And I guess they had a woman on set who was a psychoanalyst. At some point she said, well, this isn't really this is, no. And Hitchcock was like, it's a movie. It's a, what can I say? It's a movie. So it's got that, give and take of this is nonsense. But visually, I'm so engaged in what is happening.
Sure.
Oh, wait. We should say, I would highly recommend both of these movies, so go watch them. Specifically Notorious, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And this movie has so much going on that I would also recommend it, even though it's not perfect.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. There's so much that we can talk about, and we will, but it wasn't a perfect movie by any stretch. And I think it felt dated in its gender politics, but also, like we were saying, in an interesting way where you're kind of like, was that intentional or was that just the way that shit was? It doesn't feel the same as like a Doris Day, like Pillow Talk or something like that where you're just really like,
those are almost even more
rom-com-y, more,
more dated on some level because it's like.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying those were better and I was like, well, those are not okay, great.
No, I'm saying it wasn't as gender, whatever-y as that.
Exactly. So the basic plot is Ingrid Bergman is the only woman working in a very prestigious and large psychoanalysis factory. I don't know. They have a sanatorium.
It was like a sanatorium. It was like, is this a college or a psych ward? Like, where exactly
but
are
they live there. Like, it's like they live and work there. It seems some sort of institute. She is the smartest one in the room.
And the most beautiful.
Well, I mean, that is just true.
True.
I mean, you can't deny her. Oh my gosh. I was reading something about how when David O. Selznick, like, basically he scouted her from Sweden and was like, come and be an American movie star. And he wanted her to like pluck her eyebrows and change her hair and basically just like turn her into movie star lady. And she was like, no.
Good for her.
No, I'm not going to do that. And so her image was just her image. And I I just love her. She's just so fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gregory Peck shows up to be the new head of the Institute, and it's love at first sight, love at first violin swells.
I think you know everyone here, Dr. Edwards.
No, not yet.
Oh, this is Dr. Peterson.
How do you do?
A mystery unfolds that he is perhaps not the man he says he is or thinks he is.
This was such a wild ride. I'm earnest in that it just felt like a Murder, She Wrote episode where it's so campy and absurd and there's a location and it's like, what are we doing on this ski trip now? Like, I'm here for it.
I mean, there's so many set pieces in this movie. There's so many visuals that you'll never forget. That's why even though it's paced sort of weird and I think Gregory Peck is like kind of miscast, he's not really doing it. In the Hitchcock Truffaut book, they were talking about how Hitchcock, the best performances he gets out of people are people who really act with their eyes because he does so many close-ups and he'll have off-camera action happening while we're sticking on a person just reacting and you just have to experience it through them. And Gregory Peck is great in certain things, but not so much in that.
Well, I also thought that their chemistry wasn't great. That was, I think, hard for me where you're supposed to just really believe that they sensed the connection and the chemistry and the love right away.
It was a love at first sight with then no chemistry to back it up.
Exactly. And
we'll talk about Notorious. It's literally viscous in chemistry between them. Like it's palpable.
Despite his homosexuality.
Well, we'll play the clip. We'll play that clip.
For goodness sakes, why would I believe that Cary was homosexual when we were busy fucking? Maybe he was bisexual. He lived 43 years before he met me. I don't know what he did.
Noted bisexual, that's fair.
Of course.
Or noted queer?
Noted fluid.
He knew what a dick tastes like, let's just say that.
Of course!
Indifferent to the gossip, Grant saved the newspaper clippings and mementos charting their friendship in his scrapbooks. Scott signs a menu from a memorable dinner party. To my spouse, Cary.
But anyway, Gregory Peck, maybe not so much, I feel like.
Probably not.
Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe.
Because it's also interesting to note, Spellbound came out in 1945, Notorious 1946. The production code office, the Hays Code, was like in full force at this point, and it really feels like Spellbound suffered from that. And Notorious thrived in spite of that. We'll get into the details of that. But like apparently in the original script, they had all these words like libido and sex menace and frustrations. I didn't really see what the problem was with that one. Tomcat, I was like, oh.
Ooh.
Whoa, look out if we're not talking about a real cat.
Get the cat.
You get out of here. Joseph Breen is gonna give you a whack. Anyway,
oh my God.
Mainly around that woman, the only other woman in the movie who has lines. The sort of sex kitten patient who comes in at the beginning.
I hate men. I loathe them. When one of them so much as touches me, I want to sink my teeth into his hand and bite it off. In fact, I did that once.
So she's like flirting with every man, but then she's like, I could kill them! And she's a different...
Using her beguiling female ways to get what she wants from the weak-minded men.
Yes.
I was like, good for her.
Dr. Fleurot, I want to talk to you alone. I can't stand that woman.
A different stereotype. They're on other ends of the spectrum. We're showing Ingrid Bergman and her, and they're opposites, right? I think she literally says she wants to bite off his mustache.
I suddenly pretended I was going to kiss him. Sank my teeth into his mustache. Bit it clear off.
Yes! I was like, what?
It's like, is this a high anxiety reference? I mean, is high anxiety... Of course high anxiety's referencing.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Thorndike.
Hey, Norton, you missing something?
I recently rewatched High Anxiety because Hitchcocktober, and if you haven't seen it, watch all these Hitchcock movies, and then do yourself a favor, go watch High Anxiety, because you will laugh. So I think it's interesting to note Ingrid Bergman's costuming and all of this were first presented to her. The very first shot we see of her, she's in loose-fitting, I would say, for the time, masculine clothes, doctor's coat, which represents authority. Glasses, which, I mean, you could take either way, as like, she's a mousy lady, but also like, you know, I'm smart. She has a cigarette with like a extender. Her whole vibe is, I'm male, I'm powerful. Like when you see her, she's lounging in her chair. And throughout the movie, there's lots of details put into her costumes. She's always, I wouldn't say frumpy because she's fucking Ingrid Bergman, but just dressed down. There's lots of ties, masculine things going on. Her clothes aren't skin tight. She's representing this virginal stereotype, you know, but also powerful. She's not using her sexuality. She doesn't need to. She's using her brain and everything. You know, the opposite of that woman at the beginning of the movie.
Can't we go sit somewhere in private and talk? Just you and I.
Love it, if I had time.
Would you?
They're both valid, you know, courses of action. And throughout the movie, she learns how to use her sexuality more to manipulate people. That guy in the hotel room that is like, hey, baby, what's up, blah, blah. And she's, oh, me? Oh, my gosh. I'm just waiting for my husband. Will you go get this information for me so I don't have to get spotted by the police? Thanks. You know, it's great.
Maybe I can help you.
I don't think so, thank you.
Looking for some man, I suppose. A husband, for instance.
But how could you tell?
Well, I'm a kind of a psychologist.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just a school teacher. How'd you guess? You're so smart.
You're so smart. Oh my God.
Was it this where she, like, Clark Kent's herself? I was cackling where they're just like, what? She has glasses? I don't know who she is. Oh my God. Yeah.
Never seen her before. Our other, I don't want to go so far as to say main character because he disappears from the movie, but Leo J. Carroll plays the head of the institute. He was the dad in Strangers on a Train last week. He was like the senator. He shows up in a bunch of Hitchcock movies. He's, I guess, our villain, which is the issue, I think, with the pacing. They wanted it to be...
Right.
Ha ha ha! But wait! Just one more thing! I will solve this mystery in the last 5 minutes. And I like that, but it suffers in that it doesn't have a just delicious villain that you're like, oh.
Right. Because it's really just on the run is most of it.
I just think it affects the pacing somewhat. Because this movie is too long.
Ever so. I think it could have lost 10 minutes. I think it was actually 10 minutes longer than Notorious. And that probably makes just a little bit of a difference.
Although if they had added in the extra, that Salvador Dali dream sequence was supposed to be 20 minutes long at some point, and I'm like, you know what? I want to see it. I would watch.
Cut 6 minutes from the overture for no reason.
Hey, and the entr'acte or whatever, the end credits.
Right. Put that all into the dream sequence, and there you go.
Oh, we'll get to the dream sequence. I'm very excited.
Yes.
But yes, Gregory Peck shows up, and it is instant love. The attraction is beyond their control, and she then draws a vagina on the tablecloth. It's very upsetting to him.
Something like this.
I take it that the supply of linen at this institution is inexhaustible.
I don't think there's subtext, it's just text. Right?
Yes. I thought it was OCD at first. You know,
yes,
I thought that was going to be their psychoanalysis. And then, it turns out. I thought this was fun, right? She goes into the library. She can't sleep. She's just so enamored. And she goes into the library.
What about we're skipping over their date with my favorite line potentially in the whole movie, the most sensual reading of Liverwurst.
Liverwurst.
Right?
What was that? Oh my God. It was so sensual.
Liverwurst.
We go on a little picnic and have a fabulous time. He's the only man that has not tried to either actively assault her or be lecherous in some way. I mean, he just seems like he's like, hey, should we go for a walk and talk about how you're cool and I'm cool and we have ideas?
People fall in love, as they put it, because they respond to certain hair coloring or vocal tones or mannerisms that remind them of their parents.
Or sometimes for no reason at all.
He's just not actively gross, like the man at the beginning who just kisses her in the workplace. And yikes.
Yikes. Like I said, horror film for the first half, and then it turns into,
very similar to Marnie, where all the workplace stuff was very like, oh, these horrific men, fuck them. And again, the context of time and everything, but I think what I appreciate so much about Hitchcock movies, particularly Hitchcock, and I don't want to make him possessive of them, but Hitchcock's female characters, I'm always with them. I am always rooting for them. I'm always striving to be like them. I am always in. And the men are there, but they're less interesting. There's an argument for Norman Bates. He's pretty interesting. But also then we're getting into, heterosexual characters versus homosexual characters. And inevitably they're going to be more interesting if they're homosexual. So,
and that's where I was going to say Strangers on a Train, Bruno. But also Barbara.
I still think it'd be wonderful to have a man love you so much he'd kill for you.
But of course. I know, I missed Patricia Hitchcock this week. I missed her.
Sure.
Love her.
Yeah.
They go on their picnic date. She's late. She misses lunch. She walks in like they've just fucked in the meadow. Her hair is wilder than mine. And, oh my gosh. Oh. And that guy playing Sherlock. Well, you've got mustard on your left pinky. Therefore,
I would say hot dogs on the state highway.
Would you really? Your diagnosis is, as usual, wrong, Dr. Fleurot. Not hot dogs, liverwurst.
Hot dogs. No, it was liverwurst. And you're like, what's happening? What?
Liverwurst.
Because they're just all up in her business,
All up in it. Then she can't sleep. She's thinking about that D. And she goes to the library.
And this was, I thought, good, where, you're like, it zooms in. It's like an autographed first edition or whatever, limited edition.
Right, of Gregory Peck's book.
Yep, and you're like, something is important. Thank you for the unsubtle filmmaking, Hitchcock, but it helps.
I like extreme close-ups. They give me a little hug. I don't know. I get it. It's obvious. Pay attention to this in the foreground. It will be important. But, I don't mind it sometimes. It's visually exciting for me.
Well, because it still is just showing and not telling.
Yes.
It's like, it's not like,
remember this.
Yeah.
But it's not like, remember this because some clunky dialogue over this.
That doesn't look like the autograph in the letter that he sent me. You have to figure that out later.
She's going to become, we'll talk about what I think happens at the end. I'm excited for her future career as a psychoanalytical detective. Yeah. I want to watch that show. I want to watch that
Jessica
show.
Fletcher.
Yes! Because she's also writing. Love that. She's like John Grisham. Like she started in, one career.
Right.
And then wrote about it. And now she's worldwide millionaire. Love it. Love that for her.
I love that.
She goes into his room because, pretty explicitly, I feel like they're going to do something. She
wanted it.
She would like to fuck. And perhaps,
his light's on. It doesn't even knock, right? Or did she maybe ring a bell?
No, she just goes in. She's ready for it. She's seen that book that he wrote and how big it is, and she wants it. And so goes in. He's kind of fallen asleep. Oh my gosh. And this, again, wacky, 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 unsubtle, but extremely exciting. Doors opening sequence of this sex metaphor.
Oh my God. The doors are the eyes of the vagina. It's just really...
And then it's got... I think this has to be one of the earliest uses of the theremin. I know it was used in a lot of horror movies, but this has to be an early use of it. And then we're about 33 minutes in, and the plot really starts because it is revealed that Gregory Peck believes himself to be a murderer, is not the person he says he is, and needs a lot of help.
Yes. No, it's just a guilt complex from your childhood.
Oh my God, they say guilt complex one more time.
Thank you.
He fits perfectly into your chapters on the guilt complex.
Would you mind telling me what you're talking about?
You're here to see if we can cure your guilt complex by psychoanalysis.
But I have no guilt complex.
It turned out that was what was going on when we got down to the fourth layer of trauma analysis that happened to him.
Yeah, that was a pretty graphic, upsetting.
With you.
Yeah.
Sticks with you. Yes.
Yeah. I won't be going near any fences, at the ends of staircases for a while.
Oh, I think I watched this movie too young, and I still have issues with it.
Unlock the childhood trauma, Avaryl.
It's a guilt complex. Where are the theremins?
Open the doors.
You put the horrible thing behind a closed door.
We have to open that door.
I know what's behind that door.
It turns into a pretty traditional, well-treaded plot of a Hitchcock movie. Ordinary man on the run. Adventures ensue. I don't know if adventures is the right word, but I mean, yes, he did this plot over and over and over and over again, but it works. You know what? Romancing the Stone is the same plot, and I love it. So
it's great. It's
what
true.
are we complaining about?
It is very much like stage fright. You know, it's like, ooh, a smart, fun woman helps save a man who's been wrongfully accused or not, I guess, was the twist in that one.
But I mean, Speed's the same movie. You know, it's like romance ensues amidst adventure and harrowing events. I'm into it.
Yeah.
They're on the run. They've got to get out of there. Oh, no, wait. First, he runs away. And that great scene where he's left the note under her door. Everyone comes in. Yes. She's just about to pick up the note that says where he's run away to. And she's clearly covering for him. And the police are there. They just walked right into her room.
And he didn't say anything that might give you an idea of where he went?
No.
The little things. It's those little tense scenes that just make these movies so good. Are they going to find the note? Oh, no, girl. You better find that note.
Find the note, girl.
And then Leo Jake Harrell just and it extinguishes. But the fact that that scene is so much more tense than, like, anything that was in, I'm only saying this because it's the most recent thing I watched, Suicide Squad, you know, there was more tension in, are we going to find that note, girl, than in most of that.
And implicate her into the,
Anyway, then they're on their adventure. The buying the train tickets was the most dramatic thing we'd ever seen in the course of history.
What? Wait.
Oh my
God. What is it? What do you want, sir?
Music is what will he remember?
Where do you want to go to? If you don't know, then move aside.
You probably didn't notice. I didn't find anything online. I just happened to look. There is a little girl extra in line behind them who has like a hearing aid. And I just thought that was really interesting. You never see that. You know, and nothing in a Hitchcock movie is completely by mistake. Or whatever, without a choice or without a decision.
Sure.
So I just thought, that's cool. I don't know. It's just something I noticed. And then we're introduced to our final main character, Professor Little Old Man.
Oh my God.
Professor Little Old Man.
Little old man. Nobody gets it right.
I think his name was actually also Alex. Lots of Alexes.
Oh, I think you're right.
Oh, my old friend. My dear darling.
This intense scene as well was actually quite intense, where they're just, we walked in. Oh, they're policemen. Oh, they somehow didn't notice.
Good thing she doesn't have her glasses on. Oh no, she puts them on. That's right, she puts them on. And with the newspaper, I am not.
Yeah. Oh, I'm Clark Kent. I was just like, this is absurd. But also, how lucky that he walked in and didn't say her name.
Oh, of course.
But that's because he was, I think, so smart, right? They were trying to make it seem like, he knew everything that was going on immediately upon setting foot in his house.
I didn't have time to let you know. I just arrived.
Imagine I find you here. Oh, I would have come home quicker.
Hitchcock's side characters are just on board, and that's what I love about them. So it's just like, I'm on board. I like murder. I like discussing murder. I enjoy running from the police or whatever. Like, what do you need? I'm here to support you. Literally, I'm a supporting character. Let's do this.
Literally a supporting character, yes.
Do you think old Alex Brulov, one of the biggest brains who is in psychiatry, is unable to make out 2 and 2 come out 4?
He immediately knows what's going on, and this whole drama with the straight edge razor and the white lines. I mean, I don't think he was talking about cocaine, but
My white lines go a long way, either up your nose or through your vein, with nothing to gain except killing your brain.
White lines. You know that song? No? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you do? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
You never know. Our music Venn diagram is sparse, I would say.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's mostly a circle here and a circle there, and then maybe like a little. It's like more of like a.
I think Alaska Thunderfuck is the cross section.
That's not true.
I know.
They put together the snow. It was the snow and the lines.
Snow.
The light frightened him. Photophobia.
No, it was the snow.
Citizen Kane moment of like the background snowy rosebud sled happening. Suddenly it's snowing.
Yeah.
It must have been snow. Snow, yes, that's right. And lines on the snow. That must have been skiing. I mean, it's one of those, just like, sure, process of, what's that called? Like, associative, where you
free
like say
association?
Free association, yes.
Oh, doctor, I'll bet you're just dying to free associate.
And wish you have babies and not phobias.
He was so much, but I did enjoy him.
Campy camp. He was doing it up. All of it.
He really was. Well, and I mean, he just drugs her fiance, her husband, whatever. But that's a bold move to just be like, nope, calling your bluff. I'm seeing right through this. I'm going to drug him and put him to sleep in the couch, wow.
I think this might have been a reaction to, so there's this Hitchcock movie called Suspicion, which you should also watch, with Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine. Maybe I don't want to spoil it, but basically there is a milk glass and poison involved and the inability to show certain things because of the Hays Code. I think this was Hitchcock saying, you know what? I'm going to fucking do this time. I'm going to do it. As vague as I can make it. Go watch Suspicion. Sure. It's great until the last 5 minutes. And then you go, oh, what? It's very Gilda in that way, where you're like, yes, bitch. Oh, what happened? Damn it, the studio got a hold of it. No.
Oh my God. I will say that Notorious was giving me some Gilda vibes.
Oh, yeah. Well, down in Rio and all the crop tops and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
The big party, right? Where it was like, ooh,
oh, yes.
Fancy.
Ooh, now, I'm sort of mad that Glenn Ford, I don't think ever worked with Hitchcock, not that I can think of off the top of my head. And I really like Glenn Ford. And that would have been great. Ooh, maybe Glenn Ford in Spellbound. What do we think? He might be too masculine. Because Gregory Peck really is given the, female role. You know what I mean? Oh, we have to fix you and you're weak and you don't, what's going on with you? I don't have any power. I'm just going to kind of be led through this plot. It's very that.
I almost feel like John Dahl would have been good.
Oh, yes.
Use him again. Or
yes.
Before.
Rope was 48, so use him
a year before.
Previous. This was 45. It's interesting because we've been watching these and they've become, we're not watching them chronologically, but you can see how much more power the production code office had over things, or how many things were sort of more restrained versus things you could show or sneak around, et cetera, et cetera. So
it's crazy to think about what could have been. You know what I mean?
I am so fascinated with that time period, with the blacklisting and the Hays Code and all that, and totally fuck them, and that's a bunch of bullshit, and fuck them. But a lot of really interesting art came out of all that adversity, and they had to be cleverer. But then you go and watch the pre-code movies, and you're like, oh, fuck, these are so good too. And when you watch those pre-code movies, you're like, well, wait, what? They were showing this kind of things? Wait, what? It's crazy. Yeah. They seem naughtier somehow because they're black and white and they're old. Yeah. And so you think, this isn't how these are supposed to happen. They're talking about
They weren't talking about stuff like that back then.
So if you can get your hands on some pre-code movies, Jewel Robbery's great. All the William Powell, Kay Francis movies, One Way Passage, they're great.
So, are we at the dream sequence?
So, Ingrid Bergman convinces Professor Little Old Man that he should not go to the police.
What do you want I should do?
Give me time to treat him and cure him. The police find him and shock him into an incurable condition.
And that they're doing a deeper investigation into his mind. That's how we'll solve this.
I mean, I did appreciate that. And I know, obviously, it's rude to constantly be referencing Murder, She Wrote. But what I love so much about that show is that it does these types of things where it's like, oh, but you need the smart woman to tell you, everything that the police are missing because they're terrible at their jobs. It's very that. And so that's what was fun about this, where it's like, no, we'll figure it out. I see it was the 21 Club. I mean, this was absurd.
Oh my gosh.
We're not there yet.
I mean, we are. This is what everyone talks about when they talk about Spellbound, right? The big Salvador Dali dream sequence, which is gorgeous and beautiful and weird. And in a mainstream Hollywood movie in 1945, it's so good. It feels almost like a Michael Powell Pressburger movie where you've just been transported to somewhere else. I'm not in a movie anymore. I'm somewhere else. And it's really, really beautiful and amazing.
It is, although I will not lie that I had to turn away from all of the eyeballs.
And were you worried about Un Chien Andalou?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, the Dolly movie, the short that they show you in college where they cut that eyeball, and I've never been the same since. Okay. Don't watch it.
No. I forget what it's called, but there's like a thing where when there's a bunch of little circles like next to each other, like a bunch of dots together, then it like gives me a visceral reaction. And then I felt like I was even more crazy because it was like the psychoanalysis of it all, where I was like, what does that say about, but
oh my God. Are the circles boobs?
Right. I can't look at it. It trips me. Yeah, I can't do it.
If anyone else has this issue, turn away. I'm showing a clip of eyeballs being cut by giant scissors, and they're curtains, and people with masks, gimp masks, are walking around in suits. Lots of stuff going on. Shadowy birds flying around and holding this wheel, and what does it all mean? And it's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Other than the eyeballs.
I mean, it's just my own personal. I mean, other people have it too, but like, yeah.
You are seen and heard. So yes, they dissect this dream in a hilariously movie sort of fashion. He got 21 in a game of blackjack with clubs. Perhaps Club 21. All of these like past regression, dream, whatever. It really made me want to watch Dead Again, one of my guilty pleasure Kenneth Branagh movies where he's just making a Hitchcock movie and it's amazingly over the top. Check it out. I think you'll like it.
I love it.
Somebody help me!
Imagine, right? Kenneth Branagh.
Right.
The hubris of Kenneth Branagh combined with the hubris of Hitchcock. I mean, it's...
Well, and the hubris of Kenneth Branagh to say, I will make a Hitchcock movie. Like,
but
I mean...
But
of course.
But yes, Ingrid is willing to put everything on the line for love.
Yes.
She has got to get that Gregory Peck. And you didn't laugh at my joke.
Oh, the Peck! I get it. I'm sorry. The Gregory Pecker.
Liverwurst.
I want to talk about this scene on the train. So they're heading up to Gabriel Valley?
Oh, yeah, Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, they're heading to the ski resort. She's eating away. She's having a great time. She's like, we're figuring this out. I'm on a mission. I got a project, and it's you.
I've always loved very feminine clothes, but never quite dared to wear them.
He's just like, And she's talking about, I've always liked feminine clothes, but I never dared to wear them.
But I'm going to after this. I'm going to wear exactly the things that please me. And you.
She's finding her own sexuality, and she's gonna get out of her own box of, I have to be this very specific kind of person to be able to break that glass ceiling. I mean, I think if she was overtly dressed sexy and had a different mindset, she would not have made it as far in that career at this time. So that was all very much a shield, if you will, of like, I can be in this world. And this is her sort of growing and being like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. Fuck y'all. And I was kind of really excited about this little nothing interchange that happens in the movie. We're there. We've reached the moment of your expertise, the skiing scene. I see you've changed your outfit.
Yes, I have my ski helmet now for the ski aspect, the ski part of the conversation. I don't know. It was the only other round thing I could find.
They're just in blazers. It was great. Blazers.
I was like, what are these outfits? Hiking up this mountain in boots and...
Well, I was like, thank God they... I mean, I guess he has a reason to ski because he was skiing. Like, there's some validity to his character being able to ski.
Right.
But, like,
if she didn't know how to ski, what was she going to do?
She was like, look, if you pushed me off this cliff, it was all worth it because love. Okay, girl.
How do you know I won't kill again?
Because I'm convinced you didn't kill in the first place.
You believe in me enough to take such a chance.
Of course I do.
There's other ways to figure it out.
Well, and also, why is this ski lane...
Thank you.
What's it called? Run?
Yeah, like off the fucking cliff.
Oh, and then there's, just pummeled to your death because what? What's going on? Gabriel Valley's going to have a serious insurance claim on their hands.
There's not like signs or anything.
He comes to his senses in the last second, quick decision,
Yes.
and saves them from careening to their deaths.
Quick decision.
And he remembers. Yeah. And this is where we get the really scary flashback to his childhood where he killed his brother. Oh my God.
Right.
For 1945 to just like show a child die pretty violently. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. I will say, on a more fun note,
of course,
this scene also was reminding me of the original Pink Panther, where there's all of their skiing.
Yeah.
And they're like,
it's all this rear projected the wind.
Ooh.
I'm skiing right now. Look at all this skiing that's happening. Yeah, no, it was hilarious. I loved it. Oh, and I appreciated this dialogue too. He makes a quick decision and throws them out of the path of falling off a cliff.
Well, you saved me.
Now, let's not have any confusion about who saved whom.
You saved me. And I was like, nah, bitch, what?
No.
And then he says, let's be clear who saved who. You saved me. And I was like, okay, I'll allow it.
Uh-huh.
You saved me. We agreed into the suicide pact that if you
didn't
get cured from your psychotic amnesia break, that we would both
that I would follow you off a cliff?
Because, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Then we get another really bizarre sequence where suddenly Ingrid Bergman has raided her wardrobe from Casablanca, and this trial that doesn't happen on camera. What do you mean? He's innocent. I can prove it. He's innocent.
Right.
Oh my God, no, you
That's
can't send
right.
him away. No. And all these dramatic shots of him. And she's hats.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, yes.
I'm afraid a bullet was found in the body.
And so they arrest Gregory Peck when they're in these fabulous ski lodge with these yummy sweaters by the fireside. Yeah. She's finally happy. Oh my gosh. Finally gonna go upstairs and fuck. Damn it, the police came again.
God damn it.
He's in jail. Time has passed. She's back at the Institute. Leo J. Carroll has rejoined the movie. And she's going through the dream sequence with him because he's let it slip that he knew.
I knew Edwards only slightly. I never really liked him. But he was a good man in a way, I suppose.
I didn't know him very well. And it's like, you said you'd never met him before. Ha-ha! That was also very much a J.B. Fletcher thing.
100%. Oh, I'm just going to go over my notes. So it seems like this means this, which means this means this, which means you dropped the gun, you're the murderer.
I would say that this angry proprietor who threatened Dr. Edwards was myself.
It seemed that way to me.
I'd have to disagree with your interpretation because I have the weapon right here.
Oh my God.
This line was so cutting.
You're an excellent analyst, Dr. Peterson, but a rather stupid woman. What did you think I'd do when you told me all this? Congratulate you?
Whoa, Leo J. Carroll. Whoa. But then she shows him because she analyzed that at him. She analyzed this, Tim. She dropped the mic with her analysis and said, I'm going to play you like the theremin that's been playing in the background this whole time. You're no idiot. This is just straight up murder. You could still live if you admitted to murdering that other guy because you were in a state of insanity. But if you just shoot me right out, you're going to the electric chair.
A man with your intelligence does not commit a stupid murder.
You still want to do research, right? Yeah, you can do that in prison.
They'll find extenuating circumstances in the state of your health. They'll not execute you for the death of Dr. Edwards.
Boom.
Boom. Just gonna close this door.
I'm going to telephone the police now, Dr. Murchison.
I love that line. You're too smart to commit a stupid murder.
The Pursuit of the Perfect Murder. That's like a good Hitchcock thesis title. Like Hitchcock and the Pursuit of the Perfect Murder.
Yeah. Oh, and also we'll get into the horses in Notorious.
Oh my God.
And then we get this other super famous shot of the giant gun and the giant hand and it turning in on towards the camera. It was very The Great Train Robbery, but the inverse. The two frames of red. It's great.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. Although it kind of pokes a hole in her analysis that he would rather live than...
Right.
It's a movie.
I guess he realized
drama.
that he didn't have it in him to murder two people, but then also that he was fucked. So then he was just like, I'm out. I don't know. It was more dramatic this way.
Yes.
You didn't have to show another court sequence, you know? Although, he didn't, like, leave a note or anything. So if he commits suicide, he kind of fucks her and Gregory Peck, to be honest, right?
You know what? That's true. Maybe that end fantasy sequence is just that, a fantasy. Because it is very dumb and tacked on and doesn't fit with the rest of the film and seems just bad, really.
Any husband of Constance is a husband of mine, so to speak.
All right. Goodbye. Good luck.
Bye.
He's released and we're married. And then that Pullman... Was that a, like, I'm no homo joke? What was that? I might have completely misinterpreted this. Professor Little Old Man is like, anyone that's a husband of yours is a husband of mine. And then the movie ends with the Pullman being like, brrr? Did I miss something?
So, yeah, you did.
Okay,
And this was
great.
also actually what I really loved of, like, the I know I'm a broken record at this point, but the Murder, She Wrote of it all, where it ends on a freeze frame joke, you know?
But of course. Wait, so what's the joke? Am I crazy? What happened?
So earlier on when they were at the train station, it was the same guy. And everyone was making out because they were like, I'm never going to see you again, or whatever it was, right? And then he's like, wait, you're both going on the train together and you were making out? What's going on there?
How strange. There was no brief encounter.
They're just so in love.
Right.
Exactly. So then they did it again where they're like, haha, we're going to make out right in front of you, but we're both going on the train again. And he's like, what? These wacky lovers. It was that.
So dumb.
It's like, what is this?
I'm going to go ahead and say that scene doesn't exist, but in her mind, because it's so dumb. And so obviously, we can interpret, of course it actually happened and everything was fine, and yay. The guilty were punished and the innocent were allowed to marry and live boring, dull lives throughout the 50s and have kids and, you know, forget their renegade adventurous past. But anyway.
Or their research and scientific career.
No, I do really hope that she pivots this into a career where she is a police analyst or some sort of detective analyst. She comes in and consults something. I would love that. Because he's straight up a doctor. He's like a medical doctor, we find out.
That's right, that was true. And a military person of some sort?
Yes.
I guess
he had PTSD
at the time, most people were.
Accidentally murdered his brother and witnessed a murder where his friend was, you know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
a lot going on. But
yeah.
I'll have the liverwurst.
Liverwurst.
Oh my God.
Oh. Ham or liverwurst. It was just so much. So much.
People do love the way she says ham.
Ham. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ham or liverwurst. Yeah, you know.
What do you have?
Ham.
Or liverwurst?
Liverwurst.
My notes just say glasses on, glasses off. Glasses on, glasses off.
It seemed that way to me.
Have we tried glasses on, hair up?
No. Oh, okay. No. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, glasses on, hair back up. Now let's just get that hair right back up.
Doors, open, closed. Doors, open, closed.
People opening doors. Oh.
Thank you for coming so soon.
Oh, and another thing.
Pardon me for marching in, but I'm spreading the tidings. Constance.
You ordered the afternoon papers, didn't you?
Yes. Good evening. Is Dr. Brulov in?
Yes, so the ending is, traditional. Let's say that. It's a traditional ending. I don't know. Do we think they're going to last? She fixed him, so I don't think she's going to be interested anymore.
Right. It is funny to me, though. I think in all of these, you dislike all of the, neatly tied bow happy endings. And I feel like that's what makes me not dislike the movies. Not more. That makes it seem like I don't like them. But, I appreciate the happy ending because then I'm like, oh, good. There was murder. But in the end, everything was,
I don't dislike
righted.
them. It just inevitably is
overly simple.
Overly simple, and often the woman is regulated back to her cage. The whole movie was this badass lady, or she was doing this, or she had her own agency and whatever, and then it ultimately just becomes, and then she got married. And not to say that marriage is a prison in every instance, but in these cases, in these movies, that's what it feels like.
Oh God, look at that. Your husband helps you back into your straitjacket. Oh.
Oh, her husband helps her back into her straitjacket. Oh.
Yeah, it's very that.
He never worked with Katharine Hepburn, did he?
No, I don't think they would have gotten along at all.
Probably not.
Katharine would have been like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing any of that.
Should we talk about Notorious?
Oh my God. Speaking of satisfying endings.
So, quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Notorious. Ooh, lots to talk about.
Notorious from 1946, 1 year after Spellbound, starring Ingrid Bergman once again and Cary Grant in this proto-James Bond movie that is heavily focused on interpersonal emotional relationships. And it's also one of the most dynamically exciting, thrilling, heart-pounding movies ever also. It checks a lot of boxes.
It is very much, I said the same thing. I was like, oh, it's very Bond vibes, obviously before Bond existed.
Well, is it any wonder that Cary Grant was the first choice for Bond?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, I don't think there's anyone that looks better in a tux, right? I just don't think it exists. It's just in the dictionary.
There you go.
It's just Cary Grant in a tux.
There you go.
Well, the first thing I want to say, Edith Head did Miss Bergman's gowns. Oh my God, the costumes. This was the first collaboration with Hitchcock and Edith Head, and it just is so palpable to me. It's unfair to compare it to Spellbound because she's purposely dressed down in that movie and she's not supposed to be glamorous, but just there's so many memorable looks in this that are iconic, and you get why Edith Head was Edith Head. You know what I mean? There's just, you're like, oh my God. But of course.
The skill.
This zebra crop top in the beginning with the, oh my God. Because she's a wild animal. You know, it's not subtle, but I love it.
She's a jaguarande. I trained her.
Oh? What did you train her to do?
To trust me.
Basically, the movie is Ingrid Bergman's father is tried for treason against the United States. She is, very upset, not necessarily because she loved him, which she did, but because she loves America. As we find out. And Cary Grant is, James Bond, becomes her handler, and they decide they're going to recruit her to be Mata Hari.
Mata Hari. She makes love for the papers.
But complications ensue when Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman fall in love. I'm very excited to talk about all of the chemistry that is occurring between them. This first scene with her at the party and just the back of his head. Who's this mysterious man?
Yeah. Ooh,
oh my God.
Yeah. But also, I kind of want to be at this party.
Oh, 100%. Where on a whim you could be invited on a yacht.
We sail at 10.
Really? We just sail away.
1 week in Havana and this whole thing about your father will have blown over.
So the parties trickle down. Suddenly, it's just her and Cary.
Which seemed so like, oh, and then he's the only man that was left. Like, who left her with just him?
What do you mean, like for safety or for?
Yeah, for like,
I would
no
rather have
one knew
her-
this man.
Haven't I seen you somewhere before? Well, it doesn't matter. I like party crashers.
He's not a party crasher. I brought him.
That's a bad friend to just be like, bye, bitch.
Her friend was like, oh, I invited him. So someone vouched for him in some regard.
Sure.
He's Cary Grant in a tux. Come to my party.
Well-
I don't care. The thing that was so evident, particularly watching Spellbound and this back to back, was just how overtly sexual their relationship is. Spellbound, it's like, oh, it's love at first sight, and let's go on a date and have a picnic and, court.
Liverwurst.
This is, you down? Because let's fuck.
There's nothing like a love song to give you a good laugh.
That's right.
He has ulterior motives that we find out later. She is, as a woman who is unmarried, is explicitly allowed, quote unquote, in this movie to just be like, let's fuck.
Don't you need a coat?
You'll do.
And
Sure.
I just think
Yeah.
that's so progressive.
It's true. Her character in this was such a strong female lead.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It goes back to the conversation about earlier about what's nice about Hitchcock is that his female characters are almost always the protagonist, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's like they are...
Or the most interesting. If they're not the lead.
certainly the most interesting.
What's this doohickey?
It's a brassiere. You know about those things. You're a big boy now.
But if they're not the lead, they're kind of taking the lead. Anyway, this is another example of that, where it's like, to me, this is her movie.
Above and beyond her movie, although I do want to, throughout this review, give so many kudos to Cary Grant, because I think this is his best performance, where he was allowed to be a darker Cary Grant.
Sure.
Not just your funny, don't get me wrong, I love pretty much every form of Cary Grant, but he wasn't just that funny, charming guy with an accent you couldn't quite pin down.
And where did you get that phony accent? Nobody talks like that.
He's Devlin. He's somewhat Lucifer. He's got that vibe.
Well, you can forget it, mister.
Devlin.
What?
Devlin.
He does.
Where you're going, I hate you, but I love it. Oh, no. There was something so much more adult about this relationship. They're both broken people who have had a past, and they don't necessarily, they hold their pasts against each other in some way, but it's not deterring them from wanting to be together.
You can add Sebastian's name to my list of playmates.
Pretty fast work.
That's what you wanted, wasn't it?
Skip it.
They have a sadomasochistic relationship, honestly. They are torturing each other to... They're playing chicken with each other with who's going to be vulnerable.
You're afraid you'll fall in love with me.
That wouldn't be hard.
Now, careful.
You enjoy making fun of me, don't you?
But speaking of the zebra crop top, we didn't talk about the handkerchief scene, which is great. But also, the net just straight up ripped it off, which is so great.
Oh, I don't remember.
The net has a lot of connections to this movie on purpose. The main guy, Jeremy Northam's character, is named Devlin.
I'm Jack Devlin.
And they're walking down the beach. She has a little crop top on, and he's like, here, and ties the handkerchief around her waist. There's other Hitchcock allusions. There's a whole carousel scene with direct shots of, scary hooves.
Oh my God. I don't remember. I haven't watched The Net in a long time, and I know it's been on our list of a retro review, but I really do think it is.
I watched it on Saturday, which is recent when we were filming this, and it's great.
Okay, cool.
It also predicted a ton of shit.
Right.
At the same time that it's completely dated in its quote-unquote technology, it's bleep, bloop, bloop, blah, blah, mouse, it's very that.
Yeah.
But for 95, there's so many things that I'm like, but that happened. So The Net, check it out. It's great. Again, having two utterly fascinatingly charismatic actors in Sandra Bullock and Jeremy Northam makes your movie so much better.
Go figure. Cary Grant, especially this character, I think it's better than Bond's character because Bond is always so aloof. Whereas with this, it's like the quintessential, like, ooh, choke me, daddy. It's like that, old-timey vibe.
That's all you have to say to me.
Dry your eyes, baby. It's out of character.
Yes. Where it's like, he's rough and like, he might have murdered someone. He probably definitely has. But also, he cares about me, and so now I feel special. It's that kind of balance.
People will laugh at you, the invincible devil in love with someone who isn't worth even wasting the words on. Poor devil. In love with a no-good gal, it must be awful. I'm sorry.
He's so complex and interesting, and there's so much going on behind his eyes. He nailed that. I usually attribute it to Colin Firth, that just like, and then there's a shot of him staring with so much going on behind his eyes that you are utterly captivated, and it makes the whole thing titillating. And that's what Cary, I mean, when she like leans across him on the plane and he's looking at her, I think that's the moment that he's like, oh, fuck, I love her. Like, he's already there. And I don't know. On the way to Rio. I'm flying down to Rio. And I don't know if she's quite there yet. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think she was. I think she was still like kind of feeling entrapped and reluctant. And the pacing in this is so much better, and like it really builds over time, and like the layers are revealed, and all of that.
And they do a lot of business with making his character three-dimensional and not completely villainizing him, right? He's already fallen in love with her before he knows what the assignment is. So they give you that great scene where all of those fucking asshole FBI agents are like,
a woman of that sort. What sort is that, Mr. Beardsley?
Oh, I don't think any of us have any illusions about her character, have we, Devlin?
Oh, well, she's a certain type of lady. Or she's no lady, or whatever it was.
She's no lady.
She may be risking her life, but when it comes to being a lady, she doesn't hold a candle to your wife, sir. Sitting in Washington playing bridge with 3 other ladies of great honor and virtue.
And he defends her.
But then he doesn't tell her that she...
He can't. Oh, it's so good. He can't tell her yet. He's too wrapped up in all of it. Oh, it's so good.
It's interesting. Isn't it Cary Grant in An Affair to Remember?
Yes. Same, like, oh my God, just stare at me for a while. That's all I need.
But it's also that same, like, he's, I'm thinking of, like, in Sleepless in Seattle when she, like, breaks down and he's too proud to tell her that and she doesn't know why.
I never know why. She's just lying there, like on the couch with this blanket over her shriveled little legs.
It's that. And maybe it's because it's a special Cary Grantism of it all that, like, he has that traditional masculine energy and role, but then there's always a sensitivity to him. That's, again, what I was trying to get at. You're like, oh, but he'll take care of me. Like, I don't have to worry. He will wrap me in his tender embrace after he's murdered someone on my behalf.
I still think it'd be wonderful to have a man love you so much he'd kill for you.
It's the Mr. Rochester of it all, right? From Jane Eyre. It's the like, oh, he's such an asshole to everyone, but me.
Yeah, but not to me. Yeah, it's true.
So anyway, this is why I put Spellbound and Notorious next to each other. In Spellbound, they're quote unquote trying to fix each other, right? Mm-hmm. He's less active, but he's trying to, bring out the love and the femininity and the vulnerability in her in some way, and she's literally trying to fix him. In this movie, they're both fucked up, and they're not trying to change each other, really. Not really. And whenever they are, it's their own insecurities causing them to lash out because they love each other so much. It's so good. There's so many layers.
I suppose you told them Alicia Huberman will have this Sebastian eating out of her hand in a couple of weeks. She's good at that. Always was.
I didn't say anything.
It's so good, and it really did make me, again, we were talking about this, what were we talking about? We were like, oh, I want it to be like a Thin Man series, where they're just like, oh, then they solve crimes together.
I think that was End of Stage Fright.
Maybe it was.
Or was, no, I think it was it Pat Hitchcock in Strangers on a Train? Either way, I always want the outcome to be Thin Man, right? If the outcome of the end of Spellbound, instead of just, and we got married, and maybe she kept working, we don't know. If the end was, and now they're solving crimes, I love it.
Yeah, you want them to end up as like a team duo. And in this, it's like, oh, they're a spy couple, and it's True Lies. Yes.
This is True Lies, also. I love this kind of movie. Well, and I like that, so they're having lunch, And he's egging her on and kind of saying like, oh, are you going to keep drinking? Are you going to keep being this notorious woman that you've carved out for yourself, right? And she says about herself,
every time you look at me, I can see it running over its slogans. Once a crook, always a crook. Once a tramp, always a tramp.
She's like, oh, I'm going to say it before you say it. And then he's forced to confront that instead of just throwing it out at her. And they really have this great repartee.
You can hold my hand. I won't blackmail you for it afterwards. Scared?
I've always been scared of women, but I get over it.
A tennis match, if you will, to go back to Strangers on a Train, of, you know, just really doing, and there's Claude Rains just staring down the barrel at them. That's, because we haven't even talked about Claude Rains.
I really liked him.
Oh, fascinating, because he's a completely, impotent's the wrong word, but he's basically an impotent villain.
Vicky, cut it out.
Well, darling, you are irritable.
Well, who wouldn't be? You make me absolutely impotent with rage.
You mean diced carrots?
Like, the mom is the true villain.
Is the villain.
Oh, please, Mel, I want to enjoy myself.
Is it so boring to sit with me alone?
Not at all, not at all.
I would say that he's not really, I mean, he's a villain because he's an escaped Nazi, but
Yes.
like,
Who is plotting against the United States via terrorism. He's a villain, but
yes,
he's a heart. He's a soft spot. For Alicia. Didn't you love how he said that?
You met my mother.
Yes, we just met.
You didn't meet Alicia when we were in Washington 4 years ago, did you, Mother? I don't know where you were at the time.
Alex, I think we should join our other guests.
kind of just in that typical Hitchcock place of like, he was forced into it of sorts. You know, it's just like, well, his mom kind of has him wrapped up and it's like, well, that's the position that he's in. You know, he's an innocent guy who just wants to love someone.
Oh, is that how you read it?
Yeah, did you not?
Well, like vis-a-vis his Nazism or just...
I mean, I think both. Like, he doesn't seem, because he's so
Was he
spineless,
just following
right?
orders? Like, is that what you're saying?
Well, right, that's where you get, when you're talking about Nazism, it's a lot more complicated because there's not really like a, oh, well, he's not a bad guy. He's just doing
on
what,
the
like,
fray. He was just a little bit of a Nazi. Yeah, no, yeah.
No,
But-
yeah, survivalism within the Nazi party is still within the Nazi party, right?
Yeah,
so there's
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Alex, you look younger than you did in Washington.
Well, it's a temporary improvement, entirely due to your presence, my dear. You always affected me like a tonic.
But I did find him not to be completely, like, I didn't hate him.
Well, that's
Which is
why
interesting.
He's a good villain, right? Because he's not evil in that way. He's not some oafish, disgusting person. He's like
not his mother.
A Nazi with a heart of gold, ? And so you're put in this place of being like,
Like, I didn't want them to kill him at the end, you know?
Oh, I didn't care. I was like, kill that motherfucker.
You must take me. They're watching me.
That's your headache.
No, please take me, please. Please. Please.
So we're basically a half an hour into the movie, where usually you put your inciting incident, your conflict, something is the catalyst for the rest of the hour to, you know, drive the plot forward. And we're presented with this love scene that is the inciting incident, right? This scene over dinner that, do you know anything about? You haven't heard anything about this backstory, right?
No.
So this scene is famous because the Hays Code wouldn't allow kissing for longer than 3 seconds. So Hitchcock said, all right, I'll do you one better. I'm going to have this 1 to 2 minute long scene of them kissing where they break apart, have some dialogue, kiss again. The choreography of it's like an absolutely and utterly perfectly crafted scene of them casually talking about chicken. And it's one of the sexiest things that's ever been captured on film.
But I have a chicken in the icebox and you're eating it.
What about all the washing up afterwards?
We'll eat it with our fingers.
This scene is so intimate. He does a really good
Right.
job in this movie. He does it in a lot of movies where it's extremely close up, but it doesn't feel invasive. It feels intimate. He's inviting you in to share in this choreography. You are the third party. You are the voyeur that is part of this, but you don't feel like gross about it.
This is a very strange love affair.
Why?
Maybe the fact that you don't love me.
It kind of reminded me of, I think it was Mildred Pierce. It was like a really intimate, sexy, Maybe dinner, fireside, beach house, Malibu. They like drive, and then there's murder.
You take my breath away.
Do I?
Under the Hays Code, to even imply, or not even imply, to overtly state pretty much that two unmarried people, even two married people, are going to have sex was kind of scandalous.
A big, yeah.
You know, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So when she's tickling the back of his neck and saying, let's stay in, I mean, it's very overt that's what's going to happen.
It's nice out here. Let's not go out for dinner. Let's stay here.
Every time I watch this scene, I'm just like, holy shit, this technical this had to be choreographed down to the pinpoint, and it feels like the most natural scene you've ever. It's so good.
Yeah.
When I don't love you, I'll let you know.
You haven't said anything.
Actions speak louder than words.
But we find out that the job they're going to put her on is she's going to seduce Alex Sebastian, a Nazi who has escaped to Rio and knew her father and once knew her and was in love with her. And she's going to get into his house, whatever that implies. Open his doorway.
Open all of those doors, yeah.
So he has to leave, finds out the assignment is that she's going to sleep with a Nazi, I mean, at its basis level. And the scene when he returns is also so fucking good. And she's in the kitchen.
I'm glad you're late. This chicken took longer than I expected. Hope it isn't done too much. It caught fire once.
It caught on fire briefly, but like she's in this sort of like domestic sitcom. Like she's still in Fantasyland. Like, oh, I'm, whatever. And
come on, Mr. D, what is darkening your brow?
And he's crushed.
And now he has to, duty over love, country over, all of that stuff is swirling around in there. And he's going to have to put her into the snake pit. Well, he doesn't have to, but he feels he has to.
Well, he presents her with the option.
That's what's really interesting, too. He's constantly like, I'm not going to decide your fate. He may be in not expressing himself fully, he may still be doing that, or she may be allowing him to do that. But he's constantly like, it's up to you.
He wants me to marry him right away.
May I ask what inspired Alex Sebastian to go this far?
He is in love with me.
He thinks you're in love with him?
Yes, that's what he thinks.
Gentlemen, it's the cream of the chest.
I can't make this decision. I can't tell you to go do this because I love you.
Sure.
I mean, it's all...
I'll passively, aggressively get angry at you for making the decision that
100%.
You felt like you had to make.
Yeah.
But
it's all very swirly.
You idiot. What are you sore about? You knew very well what I was doing.
Did I?
You could have stopped me with one word. No, you couldn't. You threw me at him.
A man doesn't tell a woman what to do. She tells herself.
He's really, really, really fucked up. And hot. Ben Hecht and Hitchcock wrote this screenplay. They were great collaborators. And I wrote down so much dialogue.
I'm only fishing for a little bird call from my dream man.
But, patriotism. So they cannot be in love. And we've arrived at the writing club. We're here. Can we talk about their writing outfits? Oh my God. This little hat and the tie she's wearing is so cute. And Cary Grant just looks like the ultimate, I don't know, like whatever Fabio does for women. Like it's that.
Sure.
His shirt's open. He's riding a horse. It's very like Billy Zane in Orlando when he just like rides up and it's just like pure masculinity and hotness. And you're just like, yes, these writing outfits. It's so good. But yes, they've reached the writing club, and they've got to meet Alex. Cary Grant orchestrates this romantic meet cute between his girlfriend and a Nazi, and yet it works.
But also, it does, well, because they're spies. But also, I love, I guess this is what I meant, where Alex is so naive he really just wants love, you know, and so he takes everything at face value and was just like, yeah, we happened to meet. Isn't that exciting? And his mom's like, you fucking idiot.
We are protected by the enormity of your stupidity. For a time.
We're protected by the enormity of your stupidity. Oh! Oh, bitch! And then their first date, where we get to see Ingrid Bergman in these cute sling back flats, because Claude Rains was like 4 to 5 inches shorter than her, and so cute with this flopsy wizard beret.
Yeah.
Graduation,
yeah.
one of those like when you're a doctorate.
But did you notice that it like went, it was like
It's like beads. It was a whole vibe.
It came down and around. It was like a hooded, like it was, yeah, fascinating.
Edith Head. Speaking of Edith Head, so then it's the big, well, the first of the 2 big parties, and this all white up to her neck, sleeves, white fur, buttons up to the. I didn't care for the necklace dress combination; it was too much.
That's because he wasn't Edith Head; he's a CIA agent or whatever.
That's true, but Alex's mom's braid crown. I was worried it was going to hit the boom mics. Like, that's how tall it was. It was intense. It was reminding me of Cloris Leachman in High Anxiety, which you have not seen, but I mean, I think it was a direct reference.
He wanted to change the drapes in the psychotic game room.
Speaking of Alex's mom, she's played by a woman whose name is very hard for me to pronounce. Leopoldine Constantin.
Okay.
Or
Leopoldine.
letters.
It was like Leopold.
Dine.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Leopoldine. Except she's like German and not Italian, so I don't know where that came from. She isn't really in that many movies, but boy, did she steal every moment that she was in this movie when they're at the racetrack.
Has she been complaining about me? I'm grateful.
Might smile at her.
Wouldn't it be a little too much if we both grinned at her like idiots?
Oh my God, yes, that's right. Oh my God.
And then I think this is the central moment of Claude Rains' character. He goes, please, Mother, I just want to enjoy myself.
Please, Mother, I want to enjoy myself.
Is it so boring to sit with me alone?
Not at all, not at all.
It was interesting. He did seem like an overgrown child,
Yep.
right? Where he's just like this spoiled little brat, and like his mom clearly is calling all the shots and managing all of the stuff and just using him as a little puppet tool because he's the man and she's a woman and therefore doesn't get respected.
I mean, I like it. She's making it happen. You know, I'm not promoting Nazism, but I like that she as a woman is making it happen for herself. Oh my gosh. This might be my favorite look. I think this is my favorite look at the racetrack with this checked diamonds on this blazer where then the open lace on her hat matches, it's larger in size, but matches the pattern that's on. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Every single detail. And then this devastating scene, but also you're like, oh my God, I'm so invested when she's like, you can add Sebastian to my list of playmates. Oh, and he's so upset, but he slings it back at her and she slings it back at him and they're just torturing each other and it's great.
Yeah.
You almost had me believing in that little hokey-pokey miracle of yours, that a woman like you could ever change her spots. That's why I didn't try to stop you. The answer had to come from you.
I see. Some kind of love test.
Meanwhile, I'm also just like, you guys should not be seen together.
Well, they do give him a bit of a cover that, you know, they met on the plane. Like, they give them that. But yeah, no, they you know. But they can't stay apart, Andrew. They can't stay away from each other.
Thank God for his immense stupidity.
We are protected by the enormity of your stupidity.
Oh, and also let's invite him to we'll show him how happy we are married, you know.
Right, let's rub it in his face, then he'll forget that he loved me.
Tell him you thought if you invited me to the house and I saw how happily married you were, then the horrid passion I have for you might be torn out of me.
Uh-huh. That dynamic is really excellent.
I think because Cary Grant always gives it that somehow, because he's such a fantastic actor, you always know what he's thinking and it's not what he's saying.
Mr. Sebastian has asked me to marry him.
What do you think of this, Devlin? Oh, I think it's a useful idea. Well, you know the situation better than any of us.
This movie came about because there was a Saturday Evening Post article that Hitchcock read, or it was brought to his attention. There was this woman who was getting married to this sort of high society guy, and she was so incredibly worried because she had this big secret in her past. She was worried what his mother would say, what if the papers found out? And the secret was she was a young actress and the government tasked her with sleeping with a spy and getting information out of him. And then it came out, the mom found out, and the mom's quote was, "I always hoped that my son would find the right girl, but I never expected him to marry a girl as fine as this." It's just like, you know what? Yes to this positive narrative for Mata Hari's.
She may be risking her life, but when it comes to being a lady, she doesn't hold a candle to your wife, sir. Sitting in Washington playing bridge with 3 other ladies of great honor and virtue.
Oh, speaking of, it's hard to find, but if you can find Alice Marble's biography, she was this famous tennis player all through the 30s and 40s. She has a similar Mata Hari type story and has a fascinating life. It's called Courting Danger. So it's fantastic. But his speech defending her is interrupted because Ingrid Bergman walks in with this record on top of her head, and I was obsessed.
Right.
And I wanted it, and I love it. Fantastic. And casually drops in that, I have a problem. I don't know what to do. It's sort of a weird situation. Alex asked me to marry him. They do ask her, what do you think? Are you willing to go this
Right,
far?
are you willing? Right, yeah.
For America? She says yes.
Well, she basically says, yeah, because there's no other option. It was like, well, no one else is going to... Like, she calls him out, basically, in a way that only they know. That's the gist of all of it, right? They're constantly... The duck paddle under the water of the two of them fighting against each other constantly, and everyone else is oblivious to it.
And it's all right?
Well, yes, I'd say so. Of course, it's a perfect marriage for us.
Gentlemen, it's the cream of the test.
I forget that character actor's name, but the guy who plays like the FBI, the main guy, is an idiot because they're so clearly in love. He gets so upset every time we talk poorly about Alicia.
Yeah, every time we call her a tramp, I don't know.
God, I mean, I get it if it was his mom, but why is he so upset? Keep calling her a tramp. They have this bench that they meet on that's constantly, has pretty hilarious rear projection behind them. It was like that bench in, what was that terrible Tyler Perry movie where there was the Tenna bench? Acrimony? Was that what it was called?
Acrimony. The one that was about batteries?
The one that was actually, you thought it was like some dramatic romance, but actually the subtext was it was all about batteries. But then we're at the big party. She convinces him. She's really good at Mata Hariing. What can I say? She's actually a fantastic spy that does not get enough credit for spying.
It's true. I mean, I do want this wine cellar. I mean, obviously without the uranium, but...
Of course. You'd have to disclose that on any kind of sale or offer. That would be very dramatic.
I would think so. I was worried about all of their health.
Well, so the story goes, nothing bad happened. They're fine. They were not poisoned with actual uranium on set. This came out in 1946. They were writing it in 45. People did not know about uranium. That was not a thing. And Hitchcock and Ben Hecht, the screenwriter, basically through context clues and knowing people, what's that called, where you kind of like educated guess, they put in all this uranium, the atom bomb, because this was before Hiroshima. This was before the bomb.
Right.
And so Hitchcock said that the FBI was investigating him after this movie came out because he was so on the pulse of what actually ended up happening. And
crazy.
So that's the story with the uranium, is that they kind of triangulated and went, yes.
Well, and so then, like, of course, the big thing about she had to get the key for the wine cellar. I mean, this was just sloppy work on her part, though. Like, and I mean, what was the plan?
As good of a spy as she is, she's still an amateur.
My kids are a bunch of amateurs.
But, like, why couldn't he give her, like, the little clay thing? Like, ooh, make a print of the wine key, and then, we'll make a copy and use the copy.
Because they had to get caught in the wine cellar desperately making out. Oh, yeah, things had to move forward, Andrew. The dramatic tension of the scene is, will they run out of champagne?
That is maybe the most real thing that really spoke to me. That fear.
What are you going to do? So yes, she has to steal the key to the wine cellar off of his personal, what's the word for that? You probably would know.
I think it's just called a key ring. It's funny that you would bring that up because in the middle of watching this movie, I was like, keys are weird, man. Like, just in the idea of like this, him like having this like, you know,
it's like a
vest
pocket watch
carrying...
chain. He's Mama Morton, right?
Sure, yeah.
The keeper of the keys, the countess of the clink, the mistress of Murderer's Row, matron Mama Morton.
I was just like, that's not a thing that we do anymore. Keys like that aren't really a thing anymore.
Unless you're buying a chateau. I mean, if you haven't watched Escape to the Chateau, you're really missing out.
I was just telling someone about that.
This now famous panning zoom tracking shot down the staircase and through the party and down close up right to her hand with the key inside of it. Well, wait, back it up.
Oh,
we haven't
yeah.
talked about this look yet. With these ram horns.
I mean, the hair.
They dressed her up like a devil, and I loved it.
Well, I'm the devil.
You know, she's in this black column dress, this matching
like
diamond.
A devil or like a devlin?
A devlin. Oh, I see what you did there. I like it. She's in cahoots with the devlin.
Oh my God. She made a deal with the devlin. She's sleeping with the devlin.
Oh, yeah, I like this quite a bit. But yes, this gorgeous low-backed black. There's just so many details. The thing in her hair matches the belt, matches the... It's so good. It's so fucking good. And this horn hair really made me laugh. It just, with the...
Me too. It was so
really
much.
Was cracking me up. Well, what's great too is they managed to make it Anna Karenina, right? They're having an illicit affair. It's the end of the affair. And yet the marriage is a complete sham. Like usually you don't see the scenes before the marriage, right? That led us up to it. But so they've got this great English patient tension. Are we going to get caught? Even though you know she's absolutely not in love with her husband. Like there's no tension in that usual way.
No, it's like, are they going to get caught and then murdered by the Nazis? Not, are they going to get caught and her husband's going to be so devastated? Because who cares?
Push me away.
I couldn't help what happened. He's been drinking.
I mean, if this movie had come out, you know, in the 80s or the 90s, they probably would have gone further than making out down in the cellar. But then how do you explain that away? Like, oh, he was drunk. I didn't know. Oh, he was kissing me. I didn't realize it. What?
Well, maybe he finds them after they're putting, my bra strap is loose or something. Right?
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, he attacked me and tore my bra off. I don't know.
Well, no, we don't need to go that far. But very atonement in the library, you know? Oh.
Sure. That was essentially what happened with this, where it was like, oh, he attacked me and kissed me, was what she was supposed to be saying at least, and she was like, no, I'm not going to bother with that.
So he carried you down here.
Oh, please, Alex.
You love him.
No, of course not. Please go.
She's like, what? I'm sorry. He's Cary Grant in a tux. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? It's Cary Grant in a tux. Honestly. Can you blame me? Can you blame me, Claude Rains? In this movie, he's the Ingrid Bergman character in Spellbound, right? I love you no matter what. Oh, you're, you know, from his perspective, he's like, yay, I'm a Nazi. It's great. I have my reasons.
Right.
You know.
We escaped to Rio and we're fine.
We did it. He's justifying it somehow in his mind. And now this, you know, woman has come into my life. I love her. Oh, she's an American agent. I still love her. Oh my God, what am I going to, you know. This telling scene that he finds out she's a spy, is up all night, and goes and wakes up his mom. What do I do, Mom? Oh my God.
Mother, I need your help.
Something is wrong?
Alicia.
Lovesick teenager who is 45 years old. Yeah, so the mom, you know, the evil bitch is like, oh, well, let's poison her. We have to get rid of her somehow, but we can't let everyone know. Mostly him more than the mom because she was more complicit. But like there was living in so much fear of the people. And I think they did such a good job. He did such a good job, Hitchcock, of setting it up where the guy freaks out about the wine, not even in any sort of significant way. You know, like, oh, sorry to have made a scene. And you're like, what? I mean.
Yeah, he has a moment, right? He has a moment at the party. Oh, why? We can't. I mean, he knows how dangerous the uranium is. Why? We can't be having that around. We
I
can't
guess.
be drinking that. Woo. They kill him over it. So they've set him up as the fate that could be, the fate that is very possible for anyone that steps out of line. And the fact that he's, married this American agent. So now they, to save themselves, have to keep her cover, but find a way to get rid of her. And they're slowly poisoning.
Oh, she's sick and now she's dead. Oh, how sad. You know.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was all that uranium. I mean, what?
As if she already wasn't poisoned enough from living in this house with all of the uranium. She's now also being poisoned by some other type of poisoning in her coffee.
It's too much. I just finished my coffee.
No, that is.
Oh, but that's
Arsenic.
I don't
One
know.
of those. One of those.
Jessica Fletcher would know, but I do not.
She would know. She would know. She could probably just smell it and know. That's how good Jessica Fletcher is.
A broken ampule.
If I'm not mistaken, it contained amyl nitrate.
Ah, amyl nitrates. She knows.
Remember that? So yes, they have to keep her cover, but they're going to slowly poison her through her coffee. So nefarious, because you're all tired and you feel sick. You think, oh, I got to have more coffee. I mean, it's a real perpetual cycle. And she meets with Devlin, and still her pride is too much.
Oh, I'm
She's
drinking
been
again.
Wounded. She pretends like she's off the wagon.
You don't look so hot. Sick?
No. Hangover.
She's too proud to tell him that she's actually not drinking.
Are you all right?
She's fine.
It's that with Nazis,
It is.
It's
They're dressed up like Nazis. Trini Lopez. He busted his neck when they were parachuting down behind the Nazi lines. Stop it.
But Cary Grant's not sure. He's the spy, right? He's the trained. We don't know exactly what his job is, but essentially he seems to be James Bond of some kind. But unfortunately, it's a job only a woman can do. And now wouldn't this be an interesting movie if we remade it and Claude Rains was perhaps interested in the other sex?
Yes, maybe. I don't know how I feel about the social commentary and subtext of the homosexuality and the villainry and whatever, but I could be on board if it was done right.
Of course.
Of course.
But in this case, she is the only person for the job, and he is on the sidelines. He has to be her handler. He is out of control. He can't control her. He can't control the situation, and all that internal struggle and stuff is just so yummy. Dramatically.
Yeah.
But he thinks something must be going on. He trusts that maybe she's changed, right? This whole thing of her, she's not a drunken slut anymore. She's changed.
Right.
For love.
The time has come when you must tell me that you have a wife and 2 adorable children, and this madness between us can't go on any longer.
I bet you've heard that line often enough.
But he really fell in love with her, not despite those things, but...
It seems like they fell in love while she was a drunk slut, so...
That's what I'm saying. He loved her when she was... Whoever she wants to be, she can change if she wants to change. But anyway, he didn't, require her to become some pious asshole,
Sure.
Anyway, he goes to save her.
Mrs. Sebastian home?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind telling her?
I'm afraid I can't, sir.
Why not?
Mrs. Sebastian is very ill and confined to her bed.
This seems so ill-informed to me.
Oh, completely, but this seems like he's finally saying basically fuck you to the FBI. The FBI guy is like, she's fine, whatever, who gives a shit? And he's like, no, we should probably figure this out. She's a human. She's a person. We should protect her. He is going against his boss, going against the better judgment of, spying apparently, or whatever it is.
Right. Blowing the cover for sure, most likely.
100%. Him just saying fuck it all, running up the stairs. This whole scene, it's so on a base level. Oh my God, my prince rescued me from this Nazi that was poisoning me, and all of the above. But because they put so much work into their relationship and the push-pull of vulnerability and insecurities, and it was so developed, you were like, oh, he's saving her. I'm so happy.
I'm so glad you came.
I had to. I couldn't stand anymore.
I agree. It's the best version of that. It's not the vapid knight in shining armor coming to save the princess who's been up in a tower. They never even met. She's just fucking dangled her hair or whatever the fuck. It's not that. It's real humans, but it's chivalry and love and whatever else you could say.
This woman who put everything on the line for her country, right, who's a hero, got trapped, and he's going to come save her like any person that wasn't even in love with her should do, right? Like
Exactly. That should be his job as a spy, and the rest, exactly.
I love you. I couldn't bear seeing you and him together.
Why didn't you tell me before?
I know. But I couldn't see straight or think straight.
And he's, coming to save her. And the looks that she gives him, they're both so good. Ingrid Bergman does so much with her eyes. You just don't see him like that anymore, I don't think.
Say it again, it keeps me awake.
I love you.
Rarely, I guess, right, is the thing. It's
rare.
rare to find that skill and talent and emotional, acting. Go figure. Good acting. Wow.
Don't ever leave me.
You'll never get rid of me again.
Never tried to.
And then he's carrying her down the stairs, and of course it takes 5 times as long as it should because tension, dramatic tension.
You haven't forgotten what they did to Emile, have you, Sebastian?
He's trying to get her to walk, and I'm like, dude, you can pick her up and carry her down the stairs. What are we doing?
She's gonna walk out of that house on her own 2 feet, Andrew.
Yes, she is.
She might have
and
to
I
lean,
like that.
but...
Well, but there is something about that, right? He could have easily chosen to have him just sweep her off her feet and carry her out. But no, they were partners. They were in it together, and so she had to finish the job, so to speak.
And all of this dialogue on the stairs, Alex has caught them, and he wants to kill them both, but if he outs them, he'll out himself to the Nazis, and the mom is staying level-headed. Just pretend, lie to them. Come on, say something, Alex. They finally make it to the car, and Alex is gonna go with them to the hospital, and no, sir, there's no room in this car.
Please take me, please.
There is no telephone in her room to call the hospital.
Alex.
This was so cold. I mean, he is a Nazi, so,
Who poisoned his love.
And poisoned, yes. all of that. But the way that it's shot and his acting too, of just that fear, and he's shut, no, and you're, it's cold.
And that's why I love, because Cary Grant has not become some perfect ideal. He's still Devlin, he's still that guy. He's still probably gonna go kill somebody for you.
Well, I mean, he just did, but.
He did. He's literally doing it right now, but he stayed true to himself while evolving. There's a difference between changing for love in a movie and evolving as a person for love in a movie. It's subtle,
or
but
through
that's
love,
I think they evolved together. I love the open-endedness of this. I don't need every romantic movie to be and then they got married and it was happily ever after.
Sure.
I find it more interesting when it's the perfect example is Dirty Dancing. If that movie ended with and they were going to stay together forever, that movie sucks. That movie's about a summer romance who they couldn't help themselves. It was a first love. They'll never forget each other, but it's not that. And so this ending is open to interpretation. You could read it as, and then they went and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You could read it as that he took her to the hospital and she didn't make it. You could read it as a lot of things.
Sure. They all die of uranium poisoning.
And they all die of, oh God. Maybe that didn't happen.
It's an option.
There's, it builds to a crescendo that no matter what ending you half glass, half full person see, you're satisfied.
Yeah, unless you're a Nazi.
That would be the small portion of the pie chart that perhaps doesn't enjoy this film. Also, if you haven't seen Indiscreet, the other Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman movie, watch Indiscreet. Because they were really good friends off camera.
Hence the chemistry.
But I love that the 2 movies they did together were Notorious and Indiscreet. It's just ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that double feature.
Going back to what you were saying, I guess I would be very much interested in this movie, but instead of Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant is playing that role with another man.
Right? I would watch. What can I say?
Right?
Would watch. Now, is the Cary Grant character now a woman? No, that doesn't make sense. It'd have to be 3 men. right?
It would have to be 3. I think that's the only way I'd be happy with it.
Perhaps Cary Grant is bisexual in this situation.
For goodness sakes, why would I believe that Cary was homosexual when we were busy fucking? Maybe he was bisexual.
He's torn between, because we don't see a lot of bisexual representation on film. And it doesn't have to be a choice between now I like men and now I like women, but just I'm torn between these two people that I'm both attracted to.
Right, but then it's less of like a spy, you're evil
sure.
kind of thing.
No, he doesn't like that. Yeah, you're right.
And that's where I think the issue is just it could easily fall into, it does, because otherwise it's gay baiting, right? Where you're just like, oh,
I have important information you need to know. What? Dean Brennan's Natalie says you're being gay baited.
Perhaps we can workshop it and figure out how it would work best if it was updated. Yes. Although it's so much better, I don't know, in the 40s, it's so, maybe we still keep it a period piece somehow.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with
it. I mean, who's to say that it can't be like a period piece, but that's like a little bit of a fantasy where homophobia didn't exist? You know what I mean?
Or where at least they found a space.
Sure.
They moved to New York. It was okay. Yeah. You know, they were allowed to mostly live free.
They went up to their mom's house in Connecticut. It was fine.
I'm driving him up to Connecticut after the party.
Oh.
Where are you going?
Just to Brandon's mother's place for a few weeks.
Oh, and now Hitchcocktober's over. That was at the end of the viewing party. I was just like, oh, Nazis. Cheers. I don't know.
Right. I didn't think about that being your final note. I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, that just, yes. Yeah. But yeah, maybe I should give you another one to watch to cleanse the palate. Watch Suspicion, because then that has a tacked on happy ending that doesn't make sense too. So, you know, great. Cheers to both these movies, but most especially Notorious, which is the best.
Well, I think we'll definitely have to do this again.
Yay! You know I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had so much fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any overarching thoughts or?
Well, I had this dream, and maybe you can help me decipher what it meant. But
yeah. Were they
Michael Fassbender? Now, actually, if Michael Fassbender
is definitely in the remake of Notorious, like for sure. 100%. So yeah.
I think Alex Skarsgård and Michael Fassbender is too much.
It's too much sexuality. I think it would burn the film.
Yeah.
It would too explosive. The uranium would just
too
explode.
Much. Tom Hardy.
Maybe.
I feel like he has that kind of
but he's
spy.
The Nazi.
Maybe. We'll workshop this. I'm on board. But they definitely fuck in the wine cellar.
Of course, that was a given regardless if we're updating this. Of course.
Of course.
Cheers to Hitchcock. Cheers to Edith Head.
Yes.
Cheers to Alma Reville. Cheers to all of Hitchcock's collaborators. And go watch some great movies. That's my takeaway from this month. It's just like, good movies are great.
Go figure. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm also starting to get excited for like fall and Hallmark movie seasons. So there's that.
Oh yeah. Well, those are
the complete opposite.
I think maybe the complete and utter opposite.
No filmmaking, no point of view, no anything. It's just the opposite of Hitchcock.
Every Hallmark movie is the last scene from Spellbound extended into a feature length. That's
that freeze frame. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers. Happy Halloween.